United States republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay. Roll call, please.
Newberry.
Here.
Crowner.
Here.
Johnson.
Here.
Lees.
Here.
Young.
Here.
And entertain a motion for perfecting and approving of the agenda.
So moved. Support.
Motion and support. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Our consent agenda has 5 items on it. I would entertain a motion to approve the consent agenda.
Motion to approve is presented. Support.
Motion and support. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye. Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Motion carries. We'll go into our staff reports, and we'll start with our administrator.
Just a couple things tonight, Your Honor. The trail, DOT will let the trail on December 19th and go out to bid. We did work with DOT, and they originally were not going to allow winter working dates or hours, but they are going to allow winter working, so that doesn't count against the contractors' hours once the construction season starts. Allows them to get some things done over the winter, some prep stuff to help it go quicker when their time actually starts to kick in. So we were happy with that. And it may help with our cost that they can do some work over winter when it's relatively quiet for them. So fingers crossed. Met with planning and zoning last night and reviewed the comp plan, the zoning, and the engagement and the process for the comprehensive planning process. Encourage them to participate at our public meetings. There is, under state code, obviously a process for planning and zoning participation in the comprehensive plan. They make a recommendation to council, and then council takes it from there and makes it their own at the end of the day. Encourage them to participate in our public engagement along the way as well. So we did a little bit of education. Only one of the Planning and Zoning Commission members had actually done a comp plan before. I think it was well received.
Yeah.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. And we have a new Planning and Zoning chair.
We have 3 pretty new members. We'll probably have a couple new ones to fill in, and I think everybody was excited and ready to see it updated for sure.
Okay. Mike, Public Works.
We've replaced a couple broken hydrants and some valves. Well, as long as Mother Nature keeps working with us, we'll stay on that. I'm fitting in some sidewalks in between those jobs and the jetting jobs. We'll be finishing up down Division area on jetting, and then tomorrow they'll be back around and start at West Burlington Avenue and Mount Pleasant. It'll be all the 100 blocks all the way down to the west. And then the only thing left is some problem places. We got 4 areas we have issues with. We've had a camera in here. We've got one of them addressed. Tomorrow we'll be cameraing 3 other spots. We're having problems getting the jetter in. There's broken tile down in the bottom of the manhole. So I'm hoping Mother Nature will hold out so we can get all those taken care of before it freezes up on us. That's about it.
Did you say that the jet has been worth
Yeah,
for the
I've been out
employees?
there several times, and we're only running about 1,800 RPMs, and we're still putting out 55 to 60 gallons per minute. And when you look down in there, the amount of flow coming, it's cleaning way better than the old one, and it ain't sitting there running at 3,000 RPMs on the truck. I mean, people that's seen it out probably wonders when we're going to fire it up and do something, but it's actually running and working. It's not like the old one. So, but no, that's been going. We've only had 2 incidents with a problem so far, so I think it's made a big difference on that blow-ups on those. So I'll keep Greg informed as what's going on with the other ones. I'm pretty sure there's a couple of them on Houston and Ballard area that we're probably going to be having to shut the street down, tear out the street to get down there to do some repairs. So I'll know more tomorrow if we get the camera in here.
Okay, thank you. Police Department?
A couple things. We got a trivia night scheduled for a fundraising at the end of January. We're going to hold it over at the Eagles Club. Getting ready to sell some raffle tickets also for a fundraiser for It All Goes to the K-9 fundraising that continues on. I got some $200 donation today, so they're still getting some donations coming in. So again, it's still open. Anybody would like to donate for the K-9 fund, we will gladly accept it. Talking about K-9, he is still in Ohio. He'll be back on Friday or Saturday, and they'll be on duty on Tuesday, start next week. So he's got the weekend off, so he'll be back on Tuesday. So,
Thank you. Anything from Fire Building Department?
It's in your weekly update. A couple permits were issued. The permit was issued for the safe room at the college, and what was the other one that we were talking about that was issued?
Casey's? Casey's?
Casey's hasn't been issued, but it will be shortly. The permit for Casey's on the corner or the intersection of Agency and Gear on the southeast side of the corner. So that permit will be going out shortly. Hope to see them get started as well. And then there was one other one as well. But the new system is working, and we'll be going live with it. Although we have been using it here very shortly. So Mark made the final tweaks today.
Is that a big Casey's or a little Casey's, normal Casey's? Is it a
Full
truck
size.
stop tube type thing too?
Full-size Casey's, not a truck stop, full-size Casey's. You've seen their newer ones around the state. Right.
Okay, anything from clerk?
Planning elected officials and appointed committee and board member open house before the last council meeting in December, the 20th, from 3 to 6, similar to what we did 2 years ago when we had an election. So if you can kind of spread the word, and I'll send out invitations to our P&Z and Board of Adjustment and some of the people that serve on volunteer committees. I thought it'd be nice to include them in council.
Here.
Here at City Hall and we'll just do it before the meeting.
Okay, anything from finance? Nope. Okay, nothing from tech, probably. Okay. Council? Melanie?
No, I don't have anything tonight, Ron, thank you.
Please.
I was just gonna ask Jesse, how close are you on your fundraising? How much money have you collected so far for the dog?
15,000.
15,000.
And you need how much?
For the class was 19,000.
So you're
So-
getting closer?
Yeah, yep. I think with the trivia night fundraiser and raffle tickets that we're selling, we'll be well over that amount before the February deadline. So, like I said, we got still trickling in. So we still got plenty more things that we got in line to do throughout the year, and it's going to be a continuous thing of fundraising and just to keep up with it.
One raffle is yet this year. The second raffle will be at the beginning of the
Of next year, yep.
calendar year to meet the state requirements.
So,
John?
No, I don't have anything. Thank you, though.
Andy?
Two quick things. The courts opened up last week, so obviously some new hotel motel funds should be coming from people staying in town, going to those tournaments. They had their first tournament last weekend. They've got a couple here before the end of the year, and then a big slate already scheduled for next year. And then last week, the CVB steering committee that I sit on for our West Burlington seat, we met and divvied out about $25,000 in grant funds to 19 local events.
anything from a race out at 34 Raceway to a new basketball tournament and those kind of things. So you'll be seeing those announced as the events go up, and we'll be there with the big check to hand them out. So that is it. Thank you much.
Thank you. Kathy?
Nothing tonight, thank you.
I do want to thank everyone that went out to vote this last election. Usually city elections are not well attended, so anytime somebody's voting, I certainly appreciate it. So we will have our installation of our new council member at the meeting on the 20th. It's my thought that we will do that at the end of the city council meeting, and then it's official that we move forward for next year. So with that, then, I don't believe we have any community reports.
We have, we just have the presentation from Maggie with Spear Financial and tax.
Yeah, that's on our new business, right? Yep. Okay, so that's what we'll move into, unless there are some citizen inquiries that are here.
I wanted to inquire about the condition of Rushtown Road, the property zone. I think I've talked with you, Greg.
Yes.
But nothing, that was what, 3 months ago, and nothing's really happened or changed, or that kid's still living in his camper down in the woods. I would like to, when we got annexed into the city of West Burlington, we were told that our properties would slowly have to go.
Oh,
correct.
And then it's been, I don't know how many years it's been.
For official business, we need to have your name and your address.
Sure.
It'd be nice if you came up to the mic so that if somebody's watching this, they can hear you.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thanks.
David Dirth. I live at 900 Brushtown Road.
Just to give you a quick update, Mike and Mark Crooks, our building inspector, have been down Brushtown Road. We've also been doing some investigation on the road itself and ownership, right-of-way easements, to get some clarification on that aspect as well. Nuisance letters have gone out, and the city will be taking action at the conclusion of those letters, which I don't have the date in front of me, but if you want to call back or give me your number before you leave. Okay. I have it in my notebook, but if you want to give it to me so it's handy, I can set up a call with Mark and myself and give you a better update.
Okay.
But yes, we are working on it.
Okay.
Would you like to explain what it is? Since you came to the council, I hadn't heard nothing about it.
Yeah, so like the north side of the road, the first house is all growed up in weeds and brush around it. The second house coming down the road, he has so much junk in his yard and driveway that he can't, when he visits that property, he don't live there. When he visits that property, he has to park in the street because he can't get into his driveway. There's so much stuff. The next one, the garage is sided in house wrap. At one point, the roof was done. It's a tin roof, a single slope roof, and it was done they redid it in house wrap or some plastic or something. I mean, and then now he's doing, he's starting to store pallets in his side yard. The next house down, or the next is a trailer. He just built a garage, and as I seen it, there's no foundation underneath of it. It's a 3-car garage, which, I mean, that's pretty big for no foundation at all.
No permit.
And then
the camper.
Then skip a couple, and down in the woods, there's a kid living in a camper.
Right.
But
We've been working on that one because we got the issue with the car. We can't get to our lift station, but yeah, we have been addressing that, so.
And that's a slightly different process, a little bit lengthier process if we end up having to take that ourselves, take that out.
I kind of noticed in the last couple of days maybe that something was going on because he moved on up into the up into the woods. So like he's hiding. So be very cautious.
He has been
with these
difficult to
people.
find. I do know that.
Yeah.
Yes.
And I would look at the property owner's property before you ever
Right.
did anything, because,
Right.
you know,
And there's some
what
more
his
stuff.
dad did is probably what he's gonna
There's
do.
some more stuff up and behind too.
Yeah.
That we found, so,
Yeah.
yeah, absolutely. We are working on it, absolutely.
Okay,
And,
great.
Some of it will take a little bit longer, just from a process perspective, state process perspective, so,
Okay. Sounds good.
absolutely.
Thank you.
But I want to refresh my memory, give me a call or shoot me, just let me know and I'll get back with you.
Okay, all right. Sounds good.
Thank you.
Thanks for coming.
We'll move on to, maybe, new business. Presentation by Spear Financial.
Yes, we have Maggie here for our annual report. Maggie Berger is with Spear Financial. I think a few of you met her up at the Iowa League of Cities session as well. But I'm going to turn it over to you, Maggie. Can you hear us?
Sounds good, everybody. Can you all hear me okay?
Thank you.
I will, would you like me to share my screen? I'm not sure that I have capabilities, or I think you have it in your packet, in your agenda packet.
It is
our
in the
colorful
packet.
sheets.
It is in the packet, yes.
Okay, then we'll go ahead and I can just walk you through it. I appreciate also the ability to come into your meeting via Zoom. I was supposed to be in three different places tonight. I'm in a hotel in Des Moines for a school board conference, so I really appreciate this ability tonight.
Maggie, it might be good for the participants here to put it up on the screen, though.
Okay, so I will need sharing capabilities if your host will allow me that, it says.
I need a bigger computer.
Yeah. Can you read it?
Barely.
I had to put mine.
I can if I-
Split screen, take it off split screen so you can read it. It's just, I couldn't read it on split screen.
It'll zoom at the top, too. You can't see it, you
Okay.
can zoom it.
So I'm unable to share my screen until the host allows me to be a co-host of this.
They're working on it.
Okay, perfect.
I think the IT guy will wake up and come over there.
I remember where it is.
Print it out. Kelly.
Yeah, I did.
What'd I do?
I click on the person.
What you didn't do, could have printed it out.
So there we go.
There it goes.
Now right click on her, or you can click three buttons.
I'll get my magnifying glass.
If you magnify, you can
Okay,
see.
so there we go. So here is our screen for those that are in the audience, or if this is a little bit better on the bigger screen. I can even make it a little bit bigger. This is our general obligation debt section of the report. This is where we outline any general obligation debt that the city has. The reason we draw this out is general obligation does count against your debt capacity. We have the 2008 State Revolving Fund, or SRF, that was for some water improvement. That interest rate, that TIC is a 2%, so that's the interest rate associated. We give you the issue date, we give you the principal amount, we give you the principal and interest payments. We also have a 2017 and a 2022. Look at all those great interest rates in the 2% range. So today's interest rates are probably somewhere between 4 and 4.75 for anywhere between a 10 to a 15-year general obligation bond. They haven't been this high in about 17, 18 years. But again, they've been higher than this, and the Federal Reserve did not move on interest rates 2 weeks ago. So that has kind of calmed the markets down a little bit, and we haven't seen much movement in a higher interest rate market. We've actually seen them drop by just a couple of basis points. Here in the center, we give you your total principal, and interest to the GO debt, and then we show you the different ways that you buy this debt down. So you are using some TIP revenue in this yellow column. You are using some local option sales tax revenue in the other next red column, And then the total property taxes to be levied here is, we've drawn the arrow to fiscal year 25, although we're just into fiscal year 24 right now. You'll be soon budgeting for 25, and so that amount is $59,170. Very similar to what it was last year, very similar to where it will be in the future years based on debt repayment. We go on to our orange pages, and on this page, I'll pull this up just a little bit so it's easier to review. This is where we talk about any revenue debt that the city has outstanding. This could be water revenue debt or sewer revenue debt. All of your debt from 2008, 17, 2020, and 2021 are with the state revolving fund, the SRF. That's the lowest cost financing option still in today's market for that kind of debt, revenue debt. They all have the first one has a 2%, the second one has a 1.09, and that's just because there was what was called some grant monies that went along. So to include the grant money, they lower the total interest rate so that you're never paying more than what you were originally loaned in the loan amount. Revenue debt, the biggest takeaway on this is that it has to be paid with revenues of the system. So in this far right column, we don't have anything for property tax levy. There can't be anything. You must keep the revenues of the system in an amount enough to not only make the debt payments, but also to make the operating expense, to pay the operating expenses. So your auditor does a calculation on that every year. We've talked to the city, and there's been some rate adjustments that I know that have been made or looked at. But this is where we're talking about, no property taxes can be levied in that orange, that second to the last column. We have a rebate agreement. There's one rebate agreement on the purple pages. We still have a rebate agreement here in West Burlington out for campus community developers. This is on the Black Hawk Tower. You are rebating in fiscal year 24 at 90%, fiscal year 25 at 90%, and then that drops down for those last final 3 years at 85%. And that's 85% of what they generate in tax dollars based on the increase in the value that they went from, a base value amount to when they built that tower to a higher valuation amount. We also are showing that you're giving Greater Burlington Partnership some support at the amount of $5,000 a year. So we've got that in there for the next 2 years, not only 24, but also 25 as well. All of your rebate agreements or agreements as such are annually appropriated. All that really means is we only have to count this one amount against your debt capacity. So when we get to the green section of our report here, we only have to count the $54,000 number against our debt capacity. We don't have to count the full $326,000 number at the bottom, meaning we don't have to count the aggregate, we only have to count the annual amount. Go on to our TIF certification, and this is for a couple of pages, so we'll sort of walk through. This outlines on this first page the general obligation debt that is being paid with TIF. Not every general obligation debt that you take out is eligible to be paid with TIF. And we talk about that with your administration right up front. As you're planning that project, we identify if it is eligible to be paid with TIF, if the urban renewal plan has been amended to be able to pay for TIF. The 2017 bond is being paid with TIF revenues. It was for economic development purposes. I believe that was some road work, and so it is being paid with TIF. You also then are paying back an interfund loan from the West Burlington Condos, Park Place West. That final year is in fiscal year 24. We go on to page 2 of this. We've got a redevelopment street shop lot at 515 West Glasgow. That's got a couple more years, 24 and 25. We don't have any additional LMI at this point in time to set aside, but we leave that in there. We bring in that $72,000 amount of those rebate agreements, and then we certify here for fiscal year 25. And this is what you're doing, or you've done already, but you're doing it, I think, tonight. You are certifying the TIF that is going to be collected for fiscal year 25, and that certification goes over to the county auditor and has to be in the county's hands by December 1st of 2023. So that number is $672,741. Again, you're utilizing the TIF just for the obligations that you have outstanding for the TIF. Our green section talks about our debt capacity. So we'll look at column number 2, and if you'll read straight down with me, fiscal year 24, the actual valuation for West Burlington is $518,221,000. You can see this is a significant increase over last year. I will let Greg talk to this if he wants to interrupt me at this point in time, why we're seeing such a significant increase and what could change with that in the future. I think that was some valuation that had not been recognized before.
This is a valuation for the hospital. That's the increase is from the hospital.
That we don't expect to receive.
Right.
And
so,
certainly in litigation.
Yeah. So we're looking at fiscal, we're looking at calendar 22. We probably, again, it's got a $25 million debt capacity versus a $15 million debt capacity. In either column 1 or 2, you're still okay. You're well below the $15 million debt capacity from column number 1. And so we also bring in those rebate agreements, annually appropriated amounts. And then we are going to pay some debt back. So we, kind of go down here in column 1 and 2 and show that you have remaining debt capacity. We're really going to look at column number 1 for your purposes. There's remaining debt capacity of about 81%. And that's not taking into account that hospital valuation. We tell most of our cities that they don't ever want to issue more than 80% of their debt capacity, leaving 20% for extra emergencies, things that you may need that you're not planning for. If we remove that $3 million, you still have $9.6 million of debt capacity. That's a significant amount. That's more than 50%. It's actually 61% of your total debt capacity, and that's a very good number to have. We will continue to monitor what it may look like in fiscal year 25 based on not only the hospital, but we also know that overall valuations likely went up for fiscal year 25. We all got letters probably from the assessor in the spring that said our valuation on our homes, our businesses went up, and we may not have done anything to it, right? Across the board, we know that the state, pretty much every assessor handed out on average a 25% assessment increase. We will see some of that taken away by extra residential rollback, meaning paying less on your residential property. But this valuation has nothing to do with House File 718, which will limit your budgeting practices. House File 718 is on the taxable side. This green sheet is on the assessed side, so before the taxable rollback. So again, we'll kind of monitor and look, and again, this could adjust back down, but I wanted to kind of bring it to your attention why there looks like there was a 64% increase in valuation that we're not sure will stick around, or all of it will stick around. So this goes on for a couple of pages just so you can kind of monitor by, column number 10, we're talking that you no longer have any debt outstanding at that point in time if nothing else has been issued. The blue section of your report is where we talk about the TIF growth in your area. Again, this is going to be falsely showing a positive here. You're going from $94 million to $296 million in commercial. That has to do with that property valuation of the hospital. If some of that is reduced, if all of it is reduced, we'll go back down to the $94 million range. Industrial property here in column 2, you've got $6.2 million, $467,000 of personal property or ag, and then about $78 million of residential. Now, this is a true growth rate, and that's pretty significant over last year. I do want to point out that you did grow at over $9 million in that from last year to this year. Now, $7 million of that is coming from the combining of multi-residential to residential property. So as you can see, the line below residential is blank going forward because we combined now multi-residential in this fiscal year. This gives you about $316 million of TIF taxable value, again, with that hospital in there, without probably around $133 million. The TIF tax rate this year is $28. It produces about $8.8 million this year in TIF receipts. You don't need that. You need $606 $6,000 to service your debt. You need about $54,000 for rebate, and then you need about $23,000 for interfund loans and other obligations. So you're turning back over. I'm not sure I would say this $8.1 million again, whether or not the decision is made on that property, whether before you start to budget or not, if that property value goes back down. But you are turning back over, even last year, about $3 million in TIF receipts in valuation that makes up TIF receipts. And that's not something we're telling you to go get. That's something that rolls back into the city, the county, and the school's budgets and does produce growth. You're using TIF the exact same way the state of Iowa intended for you to use TIF, just to certify your annual obligations, on a year-by-year basis. So again, we'll kind of keep a track, and we've been talking to your administration about that hospital valuation, and see if that stands, if part of it stands, if it all goes away, and obviously we'll make adjustments next year in the report to account for that. We do anticipate, even without the hospital, that probably your TIF area grows next year as well, based on that valuation increase. Again, if the businesses and the residential in the TIF area all went up by, let's say, on average 25%, we'll definitely see some increase there. Just down below, we do have a growth builder here. We have worked with the city before. We can work with the city in the future on how we can estimate what TIF receipts would be if a developer comes and says, I'm thinking of building something, what would it look like? How many tax dollars, would my tax dollars go up? What could it look like that I could get in a rebate? We have this ability to do this on this worksheet in the lower section. And this goes on again for a couple of pages, just so you can kind of see how that flows over time. And we used a growth rate of about 0.5% every year. So with that, I'd answer any questions that you have about the financials and what I've sort of talked about here from a TIF perspective.
Sorry, this is more of a Greg question. We have one more chamber payment of the 5K left next fiscal. Okay.
And then we'll change the renewal plan up to 6,000 for over 5 years, so you'll see 30,000 in there.
I had in my head that this was the last
as well.
one.
And then we're going to be, we've come up with a recommended number in additional TIF to collect this year, account for what we may not receive this year due to the hospital issue. If we were by chance to over collect, then we would simply reduce the amount that we need to collect next year to offset that. But our TIF receipts are currently lower than expected, and so we're trying to account for that a bit this year, and if we need to offset it next year, either up or down, we can do that.
Yeah.
Could you send me, I don't need it tonight, but send me the totals on all the 2011 Park Place condos? I just want to see the total amount of TIF that was.
The TIF agreement?
Yeah, just the total payout over the last 12 years.
Yeah, I mean, that would be in the agreement, or that should have a minimum assessed value, but yeah, condos. Then we'll have the housing TIF agreement will be coming forward, urban renewal plan will be coming forward, and then hopefully we'll be hearing from Phoenix and doing another TIF agreement there near future.
And those will all show up in next year's report, and they'll be adjusted in the report as to when they would start paying back. Again, remember, if you build a house now, today, like November 15th, and it was all complete by November 15th, the first time it's going to show valuation is January 1 of 2024. In that scenario, the first time that pays taxes is the fall of 25 and the spring of 26. So these agreements usually come, and then there's a couple years before those payments actually start, and we adjust for that and work with your administration and your bonding attorney to make sure that it's reflected in our report properly, that there's probably something coming, but it may be 2 or 3 years out, depending on their timeline of building that development.
Any other questions for Maggie?
I see everybody studiously looking at their paperwork, so I wasn't going to cut off too quickly if you have questions.
No, I have none. I'm good.
Anything then? If not, we thank you very much for your report.
That sounds great, and I will mute myself, and then I will get the host duties back over to the city, okay?
Okay, thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, everybody.
Thanks, Megan.
Okay, our second item of business is to approve the purchase of ESO supporting software for the fire department.
So moved.
Support.
Motion and support. Discussion?
Yeah, see, with the increased cost of this change, it seems like we got to make the change. Is there any more functionality we're going to get with it?
There is. I was talking with a Burlington fire officer today about it a little bit, and he showed me down there before the meeting a little bit about it. It auto ejects, or whatever you want to say, like all the times, like when dispatch receives a call to the time they dispatch it to us, to the time we go en route, all that's there. It seems to flow a lot nicer than the current section. You're able to tab through the requirements a lot more. It just comes back to us have to report all of our instances to the state. So that's the reason we have to go. And the other one just got bought out from another company. The one that we were using got bought out. So it was time to upgrade, and that's what it seems to be flowing very well with communities around here, so.
So at least paying twice as much, we're going to get something more for it.
It is twice as much, you're absolutely correct. But it just seems.
We'll have more accurate data.
Yeah.
It'll auto-populate. When we were discussing the auto aid agreements, if you remember the call times that we were discussing and how those were being entered, this should be much more consistent in the information that we had previously under the old system. So we'll have better data at the end of the day as part of this system. More similar with the police data, I would say.
Yeah.
And be able to print out those reports, et cetera.
So quicker retrieval of information, so you can.
Oh, yeah.
Not only quicker, but more accurate.
More, okay.
The big one's accuracy.
Thank you.
Yep.
Any further discussion? If not, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Consider a quote from Carl Emergency Vehicles for the installation of emergency equipment in the 2023 Tahoe.
It's what we budgeted for. It was about, it was a little bit more than that, but with going through the K-9 grant, or through the K-9, the install of all the K-9 equipment coming from them actually lowered this by about $6,000 to what we paid last year for the car that we have in service now. The biggest issue with now is just getting on their time frame or on their schedule. We're looking probably early February build to get that equipment installed, but still way ahead of time from if we waited to get a 2024 squad car. So it'll be after he's using it now out in Ohio. He took that with him, but he won't use that squad car until all the equipment gets installed into it. So.
Motion to approve.
Support.
Motion and support. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye. Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Number 4, consider a quote from Axon Enterprise Incorporated to replace police department tasers over the next 5 years. Motion?
Motion approved.
Support.
Motion and support. Jesse?
We've had in the budgets over, I mean, every year that I've been here for about $5,000 to replace tasers. They're like computers. They are computers. They're a very useful tool. And going this route, we'll get them all replaced at one time instead of a couple here, a couple here. It's paid over a 5-year period, so it's still the same process of getting, 2 new tasers this year, 2 new tasers next year. We're replacing them all at the same time, so it stays on a schedule. And I had $6,000 budgeted this year, and it coming in at $6,083, so it's $83.50 over what I already had budgeted for this year.
And we are looking for volunteers for training.
Yeah.
Yeah, sure. You the first one, Greg?
Sure.
Gotcha. Pass.
We,
Nominate
So
John.
will this cause a problem when we have to redo them again? All again at one?
It'll probably just come back to, they're good for, they say 5 to 6 years by standards for regular wear and tear. So after the 5 years, since they're all getting replaced at once, then we probably come back in 5 years and then reevaluate it, see how they're holding up, and possibility coming up with another, new technology or whatever we need to do.
Did you buy a couple last year?
No,
Okay.
I did not.
I didn't remember.
No.
Not the year before that?
I don't think we did. I think it's been about 3 years. I got, the ones that we have now was about a 2-year period that I bought them. And there's 2 of them that the LCD screen doesn't work on them at all. You can't replace that kind of technology in that. So they're all over 5 to 7 years old now, is how old our tasers are now. The ones that we get to keep or that are still useful, that are will be passed down to the reserve officers. So we'll still use them. So the good ones that we have, we'll still be able to use.
okay, I have a motion of support.
And one other thing, real quick. Also, this quote is replacing the taser cartridges. Every year they send us so many, and then we can kind of adjust that a little bit. If we don't need that many, we can knock those totals off. Currently we just spend it out of my equipment fund when we need new batteries, new whatever, and this is all included in this contract also, or quote.
Are they the 5-year for the cartridges as well?
Yeah.
Expire?
Yep.
All in favor, signify by saying aye.
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 All opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Number 6, number 5, consider the purchase of extrication gloves and hoods for the fire department.
Motion to approve.
Motion and support. Discussion.
Yeah, I appreciate, Jesse, you going through all this equipment, and I'm sure you had help as well.
Yes.
And, appreciate you stepping up and making sure we've got the right equipment in our fire department.
Just normal wear and tear, just getting the stuff back up.
Excuse me, can you, who seconded that motion?
John?
John, thank you.
Okay. Motion and support, so all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Now, number 6, consider the purchase of fire helmets for the fire department.
Motion approved.
Support.
Motion and support. Discussion?
They have a 10-year shelf life regardless if they sit on the shelf in the back room or if they're out in service, minus cracks, if they get broke or whatever. But we're completely out of helmets, and several of them are in that expiration year of this year and next year, so just getting them replaced.
Motion and support, so therefore, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Motion carries. We have number 7, consider a resolution authorizing an internal advance of $11,477 from the general fund to TIF for legal services related to urban renewal projects.
Motion approved.
Support.
Motion and support. Any discussion on this?
We're simply creating the debt in order to capture the TIF.
I'll ask for a roll call vote.
Crowner,
Aye.
Johnson,
Aye.
Lees,
Aye.
Young,
Aye.
Newberry.
Aye.
Motion carries. Consider a resolution authorizing an internal advance of $400 from the general fund to TIF for consultation services related to urban renewal projects.
Motion to approve.
Support.
Motion and support. Also the same sort of thing, Greg?
Exactly. Maggie Berger, as actually specifically related to TIF.
Okay. All in favor signify, oops, roll call, please.
Johnson,
Aye.
Lees,
Aye.
Young,
Aye.
Newberry.
Aye.
Crowner.
Aye.
Motion carries. Number 9, consider approval of the annual financial report for 2022 fiscal year to 2023.
Motion approved.
Support.
Motion and support. Any discussion on this? Call for a roll call vote then.
Lees,
Aye.
Young,
Aye.
Newberry.
Aye.
Crowner.
Aye.
Johnson.
Aye.
Motion carries. Number 10, consider the final reading of an ordinance regulating solar energy systems.
So moved.
Support.
Motion and support. Any discussion? Not. Roll call, please.
Young,
Aye.
Newberry.
Aye.
Crowner.
Aye.
Johnson.
Aye.
Lees.
Aye.
Motion carries. Number 11, consider approval of the annual urban renewal report for fiscal year 2022-2023.
So moved.
Support.
Motion and support. Any discussion?
Again, this is one of 3 state reports that you're approving tonight that we do on an annual basis to report to the state, or 2 to the state, 1 to the county, excuse me.
All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Number 13, 12, consider approval of the TIF debt certification for fiscal year 2024-2025.
Motion to approve.
Support.
Motion and support. Any discussion?
I did add, after speaking to the county, an additional amount this year due to the unknown at the hospital and what we may or may not get, and we can, like Greg said earlier, we can offset it, but I did certify it and put it in for this year, so.
Okay. All in favor signify by saying aye.
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 All opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Number 13, consider a resolution accepting a final plat for the Wayne Johnson subdivision.
Motion to approve.
Support.
Motion and support.
I did have a question on this one, and I'm sorry, I normally try to get in during the week on this, but the road that goes back to that on the south end, are they gonna have an easement on that road? Isn't that a private drive?
They do have an easement.
Okay,
And they're combining the lot with another property that has the easement.
okay, already on there.
These 2 will
Yes.
be combined, and this one is being separated to be sold, so the house can be sold.
Right, okay,
There's already an easement.
okay.
in place.
Easement was my question,
Easement
thank
is
you much.
directly adjacent to that parcel.
No further discussion. Roll call, please.
Newberry.
Aye.
Crowner.
Aye.
Johnson.
Aye.
Lees.
Aye.
Young.
Aye.
Motion carries. Number 14, consider a resolution accepting the final plat for the fourth addition to White Acre Incorporated subdivision.
Motion to approve.
Support.
Motion and support. Any discussion?
This is just changing one smaller and one bigger.
So the adjacent property can purchase the larger lot.
Why was that done, though?
So the adjacent property owner could purchase the new lot that's being created or extend it next to them.
Couldn't do it before without it?
No, you needed to shorten the one parcel and then combine the other two parcels, so it's made into one longer one.
Aye.
Roll call, please.
Crowner.
Aye.
Johnson.
Aye.
Lees.
Aye.
Young.
Aye.
Newberry.
Aye.
Motion carries. Any citizen inquiries at this point? If not, I would entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Support.
Motion and support. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same